Hey y'all, this is our final video in the series on employee engagement. What can we do to develop intrinsic motivation within our employees? Now, we've talked about autonomy, we've talked about competency. Now we're going to look at the third key. And the third key to intrinsic motivation is purpose. So a person has to see the purpose of their work beyond themselves. How are they contributing to the greater whole? How are they contributing to the greater good? Now, when I was a principal of a GED program within a prison. And that GED program that we had, our purpose was very much to help these students get their GEDs, because we saw that when a student earned their GED in prison, they had a far lower risk of recidivating than the residents that did not earn their GEDs while incarcerated. And so we saw that with every single student we graduated, we were making a difference in that person's life. We were part of the change process where that person's far less likely to come back to prison now because we helped them earn their GED. And this is what drove us. This is what caused us to say, what can we do to constantly be trying to improve? Now, to take this back to my story on how I became a quiet quitter, with my first boss, of course, I said we had a lot of autonomy, we had a lot of freedom, and we used that freedom to innovate on how are we going to get people through, how are we going to get these guys to graduate to earn their GEDs. With the new boss that decided that I was nothing more than a messenger, she had all the answers and it was just my job to implement whatever she said, she took away more than our autonomy, she took away our purpose. Because now, the big fear with losing the autonomy, the big reason that I continue to fight for it, is that the day can come when I'm told to do something that I recognize as being bad for students, but it doesn't matter, I still have to implement that. And if I implement that knowing that it's bad for students, I can't hide behind the fact that I've been given orders that I just have to follow and do as I'm told. I still have to take responsibility for the fact that I made the decision that harmed the student. And that's exactly what happened. Our measurements changed. Instead of being interested in graduation rates and how can we get students to graduate, we became interested in passer rates. Now the passer rate is nothing more than the number of students that have taken all 4 GED tests divided by the number of students that have earned GEDs. So you can get 100% passer rate by picking out only the best and brightest of your students to take all 4 tests. If you do that, your passer rate's 100%. Now you've got this other student over here who he's been studying for a while, he's pretty close, he might be able to pass the test, he might not. Well, we'll give him the first 3 tests and let him get through those because those don't impact our passer rate, but he's never going to take the 4th test because if we gave him the 4th test, he might fail, and if he failed, our passer rate would be impacted. And so the orders were given to essentially make sure you maintain 100% passing rate, don't take any risks, and that means the students that needed us the most, the students that are going to have the hardest time earning their GED, the students that absolutely required the supports we provided, were never going to earn a GED with us because they were never going to be given the chance. And when it got to that point, that's when I completely disengaged. That's when I said, I'm no longer your principal. I'm no longer the person for this job because I can't actively make decisions that are harmful for students. At that point, I transitioned myself into an instructional coach. As an instructional coach, I got all of my autonomy back. Nobody really cared what I did. I mean, it's not so much that people were providing me freedom as they forgot I existed. I was able to do that for a couple of years, but even in that instructional coaching role, there was, anytime I tried to do something meaningful, there would be initial support for it, and then when it came time to actually roll out the thing, all that support went away. It got to the point where I definitely felt like I'm just showing up every day, I'm collecting a paycheck, it's not a hard job and it's a really good paycheck, but it's not worth it. I needed a purpose. And so I joined the Peace Corps so that I could serve, so that I could get back to having my purpose. And I'll tell you, 2 years after leaving that job, I'm finishing up my first 2 years in the Peace Corps, and I love what I'm doing so much I'm able to extend for a third year. I feel completely back to my full self. I feel like I am living the best life I can. I am making the impact I can make. Peace Corps volunteers don't get a paycheck. What we get is a cost of living stipend. They give us just enough to survive. And even so, even though I gave up a really good paycheck to come and live on as little money as possible, I am still far happier than I was in that last role, because here in the Peace Corps, I have my autonomy, I'm fully confident at the job I'm doing, and I have a purpose. Give your people autonomy, competency, and purpose, and they will give you the best work they are capable of.